Near, 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 rip a hole in the sun. Welcome to Cum Paude. Why would you cum soft when you can cum loud? Yeah.
Welcome to Cum Laude. Cum Paude. 2.4 flying solo here this week without Dame Judi Dench, who is occupied, preoccupado, not worried, but preoccupied, and dealing with all sorts of other stuff. We've got a quick rundown here, and we're going to make sure we cover this in Dame Judi fashion. Taking a look here at their fastest 7 minutes with our week 2 wrap up. Let's share that screen. Cue the music. With a rundown real fast, we've got ESPN visiting the Cum Sale with the first victory of the year, the type of game that we expected to see at some point this year, of kind of some sort of backdoor win coming from the Cum Sale. This one by less than a point, led by the Atlanta Falcons, a road dog upset, and Arrivederci Kilo Turds predictions wrong on this one. We are looking at what we thought was going to be ESPN covering a 12-point spread. Unfortunately, the Cum Sale for Arrivederci Kilo Turd pulled it off. Not only were they the road dogs, they actually upset even with leaving points on the bench. Big week for the Cum Sale. Does he work himself already out of that last place finish and first overall pick? Perhaps, but there's a lot of games yet to be played. Moving on to our next matchup was Dame Judi Dench versus La Porta Patties. Dame was giving 5 in this matchup, covers the number. Kilo Turd prediction, Nick's picks, lock it up, absolutely correct. We're looking good so far, winning by a score of 104 to 95. Pretty much for the Potties, we had Jared Goff, and that's about it. Solid win for Dame Judi, even with a banged-up squad. He's going to find a way to get it done through trades, though the loss of Nick Chubb is just even more insult to injury. The hole that he is in is getting deeper and deeper, and now with the Cowboys news coming out this week related to that Dallas defense, Trayvon Diggs, the hole even deeper. Moving right along to John Wilkes Tooth versus the tight end girls. Brian's team pulling off the massive win, way above their expected points. Score of 144 to 0.52 to 96.18. An absolute ass whooping here against the Assassins. We see, though, for the most part, that Brian's squad was being led by big days out of the Russ Bus, Keenan Allen, George Pickens, and more importantly, a huge 2-touchdown day out of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. For those of you that are tired of dealing with defensive variance, this is one of those games. But for those of you that love it, boy, we are in a big-time situation here for those who love defenses to really beat their chest and enjoy this game. Moving on to the next matchup we had, which was the Minnesota Scrotums versus Lordy Taint Party, and what we saw as one of the most coveted matchups of the week. Lots of smack talk before the week and plenty of bulletin board material for each team to be able to look at, and the win is by another narrow number in favor of the Lordy Taint Party. The Knicks picks had this one locked up correctly as well. Scrotum was laying 8 in this game, ends up being a home dog, covering the points and winning on the money line. Great win by the Lordy Taint Party. The biggest difference, unfortunately, for the Sons of Minnesota was the Minnesota fumbles. Justin Jefferson loses one, Alexander Madison loses one, and now we are losing the matchup. 2 costly fumbles. Another one coming by Trevor Lawrence in this game, too. So the Sons of Minnesota, 3 fumbles lost on the week. You got to hang on to the ball if you want to win in this league, baby. Let's look at the next matchup. The Medusas versus the Hot July Pies. They were cruising along for most of the week in what ended up being a very solid matchup, very solid game for both teams. But the Medusas, who were only laying 6 to the July Pies, the reigning champ does get it done, covers, Nick's picks, locked up, big win. And we saw, like we said, a solid game, some good scores in the mid-20s, just a little bit of a weak showing from the running back room for the hot July Pies. But the difference in the spread, right? Medusas were laying 6, easily covered that 127.32 to 115.40. But if we were to scroll down and take a quick look, we see all the way at the bottom of the July Pie bench is Jake Moody. Jake Moody gets the start and his 14 points. Big feelings Moody versus padded up Patterson. The number is actually covered with a score of 5.72 against the spread. So kickers do make up the difference in this game, at least ATS, but moves Nick's picks to 3-2 on the week. Heading to the next matchup, we've got the hammer time, the Ham Stars. Hammy Fist versus the Healthy Twins of My Rotten Soldier. And Beth's Healthy Twins puts up a massive game. Ham Fist moving to 0-2, but really, really one of the best teams in the league so far this year and won't have any problem making the playoffs, but for just this continued stretch of bad luck and running into other teams' buzzsaws. We've got the absolute moonshot from the Rotten Soldiers, which was led very much by Kirk Cousins' big 4-tutty day, along with his typical run of Dolphins with Raheem Mostert and Jalen Waddle, Puka Nacua continuing his hot start. And then, of course, Zach Moss, 4 for 4 receptions, 19 yards receiving, another 88 yards on the ground and a tutty. Zach Moss can catch. This team could be dangerous with that starter in the flex spot, depending on how the Jonathan Taylor situation works out. Ham Fist was laying 13, but Nick's picks locked up the Healthy Twins to get it done, covering that nearly 2 touchdown number. And not only did they get it done, they got it done on the money line and with a high score of the week of 176.76. Tough loss for the Ham Fist. And with our final matchup of the week, we had the Flowers from Scooter Top G versus Big Dak Energy. Absolute ass kicking here. Scooter was a dog here and was getting 2 points heading into this week. Absolute just ass kicking here. BD just didn't show up. That's pretty much what we're looking at. It was a team that just did not put their best scores out on the field. Didn't really leave anything on the bench either. It was just a down week for this particular squad. Versus Scooter Top G, putting up 150, very, very big number, and proving that he is going to be one of the most formidable squads in the league. See what it'll do with the Saquon Barkley injury, but he's looking to be off to a hot start as every damn guy on his team seems to score 20 points. Dog wins on the money line, locked up. Nick's picks, another 5-2 week for Nick's picks, bringing Nick's picks for the year to 10-4. We're hot, baby. You're either hot or you're due, and we don't even have to worry about being due because we are smoking. Let's take a look at our forecast for week 3. Some East Coast games getting a little bit of rain, but also some important matchups being played in domes this week, namely the one up in Minnesota, which is looking like going to be our DraftKings Daily Fantasy darling, as we are seeing some big offensive output with those two pretty bad defenses going at each other there. Taking a look at the week 3 matchups, we have Big Dak Energy hosting the Cum Sale, coming off of their first win of the year, and they are laying a massive 28 points. This is easy play after Cum Paude, who's just hot with the Atlanta Falcons all day, all the time. Tippecanoe and Tyler too, and Bijan Mustardson coming your way into the big DAC zone. 28 points is just way too big of a number, and the Cum Paude lock it up. Easy cover this particular week, especially for a team that's seeming to be a little more impressive than maybe anybody, including its manager, could have possibly thought. Should be some more scoring output, though, you would think, from Big Deck Energy, who is putting a really solid team out on the field, and is probably the talent on his squad is not necessarily related to the 0-2 record so far, but also a player that may be looking to make some moves moving forward. Laporta Potties are going to visit the Ham Stars. Ham Nation, again, one of the best squads in our league this year. They are our highest scoring team, or second highest scoring team, I believe, so far on the year. Good team. They're laying 19. And this is the week that they finally get it done. Just bad luck so far putting up big numbers, but being faced by squads who are putting up even bigger numbers. Ham Nation gets it done, lock it up. Even though they're laying 19, they cover and win by 30. Just not enough talent on the Laporta Potties to really get it done. It's possible you could have a couple guys go off, but none of these guys are jumping off the page as guys who could score 30, 35 points, and that would be what it would take to keep up with the Ham Stars. So we've got the Cum Paude covering the spread of 28, Ham covering covering the spread of 19, and then heading to our third game, Dame Judi Dench at the Flowers. We've got Dame Judi laying 9 against probably what I think is one of the best overall squads in the league. The matchups are a little bit tougher for Scooter Top G versus the banged up Dame Judi team, which seems to find a way to just get it done. Gets starting running back now in Cleveland after losing a starting running back in Cleveland last week, and Gus Edwards also seeming to be the guy who's going to be carrying the ball a ton in 30-mile-an-hour winds and rain on Sunday in Baltimore. They'll be able to cover this 9-point spread against Scooter Top G, moving Dame Judi to 3-0, and Scooter Top G, give me all the Flowers, down to 2-1 before probably bouncing back and going on an absolute tear for the remainder of the season. The Scroats at Beth's Healthy Twins, two of our darling teams. Scrotum's laying 15 here after the Twins put up a whopping 176 points last week. Not a chance. I mean, the Scroats are a good team. They are. And they look good from top to bottom. They've got some talented players in Madison and Jefferson and Hawkinson who are going to be playing in that high-scoring affair versus the Chargers this week. But you cannot fade a team who put up 175 points and seems to have the same squad in some decent matchups, not terribly weather affected. This week, we're looking for another big day out of my Rotten Soldier. There's no way that they can't cover this 15 points, and I think we should sprinkle a little bit on this money line here. Give me the Twins to beat the spread. Lock it up. John Wilkes Tooth versus LTP, the Lordy Taint Party. John Wilkes Tooth is actually laying 4, favored to win here after a really rough week. It's going to come down to Deshaun Watson for this squad this year, and it's not looking good. He's looking like one of those guys that may have forgotten how to play the game, or maybe he had a kind of a secret weapon before, which, due to some legal reasons, is no longer available to him. I'm absolutely locking up Lordy Taint Party to cover those 4 points, but then also to win outright. Might give me a little home dog on the money line, no problem. Should be able to get it done. Not happy about seeing Deuce Vaughn in a starting lineup, but maybe it's a statement game. Maybe this is the Cowboys get out early in Arizona, who seems to be jumping on everybody very early, but maybe the Cowboys get out early here, and it's just a rumble, stumbling, bumbling Deuce Vaughn and Tony Pollard game moving forward. But money line play for the home dog, Lordy Taint Party. ESPN versus the Hot July Pies. We've got the Pies laying a whopping 32, our biggest spread of the week. Part of that is due to injuries, and the line has been adjusted, assuming that David Montgomery is swapped into an IR spot or at least onto the bench. Problem is, the next man up on this ESPN team is Chris Rodriguez or Devin Singletary type. Doesn't really instill a lot of confidence in what this team has available when it's already starting Nick Westbrook-Akine and others versus the Justin Herbert, who I think has a 4-touchdown day today, or on Sunday rather, and Jahmyr Gibbs and Travis Etienne, guys who seem to be ripe to score a few touchdowns this week. Kyle Pitts maybe finally gets an opportunity in that Detroit versus Atlanta game. And the Pies are going to cover the huge number. 32 points, doesn't matter. Lock it up. Hot July Pies over a limping ESPN team. Final matchup of the week in our Pubic Medusas, our famous champion, going up against Brian and the tight end gals. Big 26-point spread in this one. The Medusas are already on the board at the time of this recording with 20 points and just a regular lunch pail day from Christian McCaffrey, just looking like one of the best to ever do it again and again and again and again, versus the tight end girls who are putting out a decent lineup. We like Joshua Kelly and Keenan Allen, depending on Austin Eckler's availability and what I anticipate is a high-scoring game. You throw Jordan Addison in there as well in my favorite game of the week, that Minnesota-LA game, and they're able to put more points on the board than maybe Sleeper is giving them credit for here. As so, lock it up. The tight end girls do cover that 26-point spread, but we're not sprinkling any on the money line for this particular matchup. Coming back here to wrap this solo Paude up, there's been some rumblings, especially after Hamfist's impressive start on the points, but his unimpressive start in the records. There's been some rumblings about switching next year in our rules committee meetings to a median scoring system, which would allow 1 point for a win or loss, and then also 1 point for your score versus the league median. In other words, you would score 2 points every week, either in the win or loss column, depending on how your head-to-head matchup went and how you were against the league median. For example, in this case, the Ham Stars would now be 2-2 instead of 0-2 because they lost both head-to-head matchups, but in both weeks they were ahead of the league median, and therefore they would still get points for that. That tries to counterbalance some of the variance that just comes with the head-to-head matchup and scoring big numbers without necessarily being able to pull those wins off. That way it evens out the overall end-of-year records. Whew, good little solo Paude for you folks out there today. We're going to wrap this one up. Say goodnight, Fermi.
Good night, Fermi.
Thank you for listening to the official podcast of the Public Honors College Fantasy Football League. Cum quickly, cum often, and cum loud.